thank you very much for your invitation, and dear colleagues, it's an honor to be here, my first official appearance in Ticino, which is a great pleasure. I'm Gabor Somfai, I'm coming from Zürich. I'm a senior consultant at Zürich, and I'm a retina consultant, let's say so. So my topic that people assigned to me is actually the question of MNV detection with OCT and AI. We have touched upon the topic already. The question is, will the machine diagnose it? Okay, so let's open our helms. These are my disclosures, and let me begin with the point of Pippo from the invitation, which I like very much, about Gutenberg. I'm a big book fan. What did Gutenberg do? He did something disruptive. He sat there, he was trying to invent, he had a couple of failures, and then suddenly he came up with the idea of typeset writing, so that you can print books, you can spread knowledge. What he did, he actually changed the world with his innovation. And what happened? He actually found a way to spread knowledge, one, and two, he actually changed the whole world, and he split apart the Catholic Church. So that was just by, putting letters one next to other. What he said is that inventing something is actually bringing something new into the world, and it takes exercise and effort. So think about exercise and effort in your life. This is actually exercise and effort in my life, my residency. When I had to take a lot of time, when I was under a lot of pressure. What is residency about? What I'm telling our residents is actually about pattern recognition. You're training yourself to recognize things. You're training yourself to learn patterns and to distinguish things from each other. Now think about this. What is it? It's Giraffa camelopardiis. This is a giraffe, right? But to those who have trained on giraffes and know the patterns, these are actually three different Kenyan giraffes, just because of their patterns, how they look. And actually, this is what discerns us from, let's say, a nephrologist or a taxi driver, our specific pattern recognition that comes through exercise and effort.
It's interesting to see that Rothschilds.
That's it. I have no idea, but this is something interesting we could delve in next year. So there you go. Now, what will we learn today? One, I believe, and don't crucify me, we need machines to diagnose MNV, macular neovascularization. Machines, however, are not perfect, but at the end of the day, we need to supervise the machine and use it as a tool, as a new tool in our hands, as a new typewriter, as a new way to spread knowledge or to implement knowledge. So the first question is, can the machine see the retina? Well, actually it can, and it has been known for a lot of time. This is nothing new. It has been published more than 5, 6, 7 years ago that you can actually see the different layers using a machine. You can segment the OCT scans. Can the machine see retinal structures? It has already been said that actually you can segment fluid, you can segment subretinal fluid, you can segment a lot of things using deep learning techniques, and you can actually predict treatment need or prognosis by using these tools. Yes, you can. Now, the next question is, however, can the machine see retinal pathologies? Excuse me. And here I would like to draw your attention to this marvelous paper. If you have some time, Google it and read it. It's a very nicely written paper by the group of Piers Keen at Moorfields and DeepMind from Google. What they did, they actually developed a system that can diagnose and decide on referral. So it actually can do triaging. You can triage, in theory, by using this system. What did they do? They took a lot of scans, annotated, then they fed it into a system, into a deep learning system, and then they got an output. So let's go back to our first slides. This is effort, pattern recognition. You label images, you feed them into a system, then is exercise, you train the system, and this is actually the result. Something that is speaking and acting, and something that is actually able to get one step further, and that's the result. So what did this group do to translate this? They actually developed an algorithm that can label the scans, that can segment the OCT images, that can read actually what's on these OCT images, and this is the output, and this is amazing. So you have a referral suggestion based on the OCT. Is it urgent, semi-urgent, routine, or it needs just observation? What's the diagnosis? We have the 7 most relevant retinal diagnoses listed there, and also the probability of those diagnoses. And actually we can even get tissue volumes derived from these scans. Now, I don't know whether I can start this video, but we don't necessarily have to go through it. Wait a second, let's try. No. Anyway, so this is, leave it, it's okay. So what do we have here? This is a set of OCT scans, and what do we have there? There's a fibrovascular PED, drusenoid PED. This is the diagnosis probability of an MNV with a probability of almost 100%. And although we don't see the video, it should be flying through, but it doesn't matter. What we get is actually a classification. What does this figure tell you? This is actually the sensibility and specificity of the gradings. O are optometrists. R are actually the 4 best retina specialists at Moorfields. Okay? I look at the star sitting on top. That's the algorithm. That's the algorithm being more precise than the retina specialists themselves to diagnose correctly the diagnosis given in the scans. So what does this tell you? It tells you that actually you can use the machine to diagnose if you wish. Okay, so let's take one step further, and let me draw your attention to this paper published in September by the same group. This paper is actually the ChatGPT of ophthalmology. This model, this foundation model called RedFound, it can already read OCT scans, it can read fundus images. All it needs, just the last step, to ask the question. So you can use this actually, it's a freely available tool that you can download and use if you can program Python. And this can actually tell you a lot of things. So this is what they implemented this already for. So you can diagnose ocular disease, diabetic retinopathy, you name it, glaucoma. You can use ocular diagnosis prognosis, and actually you can use it for oculomics. You can predict ischemic stroke, cardiovascular events, you can predict Alzheimer, you can predict a lot of things just by using an OCT scan or a fundus image. That's amazing. So you can actually tell who's going to convert and will have a macular neovascularization. So you can not only diagnose it, you can predict the future by using such a tool. Okay. Now this sounds very nice. Can I have such a machine in the clinics? It has already been said, yes. Please subscribe for Retinal, subscribe for RetinSight. This is for research purposes only at the moment. But please feel free to segment volume, to segment geographic atrophy area, to follow your patients. This is our present. It is not the future anymore. If you wish, just like as Professor Lanzetta said, you can actually do anything without having someone operate those devices. These 2 cameras, these 2 retinal cameras or OCT devices, they operate without anyone touching the device. The patient sits there, gets the scan done, stands up and goes away. Okay, so let's take another step forward. So can the clinics be only machines one day? Really, just like as Professor Lanzetta said, so you will be sitting at home and planning your holiday, and your job will be done remotely. Yes. This is an image from 6 years ago. 5 Walgreens and Mount Sinai got into a cooperation to do telemedicine. What do we have here? A handcuff, a dermatoscope, and who knows, maybe here there's a fundus camera standing and predicting your cardiovascular risk. And this is actually the telemedical clinics, the screening clinics at Moorfields during the COVID pandemic. Yes, you can have a clinic run just by machines. Okay. Let's take another step forward. Can we have actually everything, what we have seen now, built into one single machine? Look at that. Yes. This paper has been published 6 years ago, and ever since, no one has talked about this. This is one of my favorite papers. This is a binocular that contains an OCT, an anterior segment OCT, posterior segment OCT. You can measure the axial length of the eye. You can measure pupillometry. You can do a visual field. And of course, you can check visual acuity. All this takes 11 minutes in a healthy eye and 30 minutes in an eye with a diseased condition. Right? This is super nice. So, okay. Yes, go ahead. Thank you. This is my pleasure. An honor to teach you something new, Professor Bandello. Okay. So, you can have this built in a device. Oh, God damn it. So what? Can the MNVs be detected using OCT and AI? Will the machine diagnose it? Pardon me. So, put this together. You have a need for telemedicine. You have autonomous devices. You have all these tools. So yes, most probably, yes, they can diagnose. And actually, as it has been said, you can even be told how to treat. But can you really be told how to treat? And this is something I would like also to draw your attention to. This is a scandal from 2018. It has been going loud in the media that IBM Watson's AI tool was actually involved in a clinical trial where the AI tool was telling actually the treatment options and the treatment decisions. Well, it did make mistakes. Well, 2 patients did die. So these tools are not that perfect as we think they are. They have this black box that we don't necessarily know what's happening inside. We do not know how they take their decisions, and we know that ChatGPT hallucinates. So we need to be there. We are still needed. I will not be working hopefully, in a Burger King in 10 years and serving burgers to my patients. No, I will be necessary to watch out for these algorithms. Okay, so let's the last step further. Think about this, and please keep this in mind, this statistic. This is actually intriguing. Before the COVID pandemic in 2019, 10% of all NHS appointments, including general practitioners, gynecologists, orthopedics, everything, 10% of those were actually ophthalmology appointments. We are drowning in patients. Just think about your clinics. We are drowning in patients. Where, how, when? Can I talk to my patients anymore? Do I have time to talk to them? This is something very important. And this is another point. Think about the bright future. Next year, we will be able to begin to treat our GA patients. What did the Americans say when they were asked? Yes, dear colleagues, you will have these huge numbers of GA patients flowing in. No problem, we will find the capacities. We will find the capacities. What do we Swiss say? Wonderful, we will be able to inject every 4 weeks. They will get OCT scans, fundus images, TARMED, all the way down. But think about the following. So if you treat these patients, you will have to think about this statistic. 5 to 10% of those patients will convert to a neovascular AMD. So you will have to be able to follow that too. Now, do you want to really control each and every patient you will going to inject every 4, 6, or 8 weeks? They will having GA, so what? It may grow slower, we may bend the curve in 5 years. Do we want to have those 40,000 patients in our clinics? We have 40,000 patients predicted with GA in Switzerland alone. So take the equation. So take the number of patients that we're drowning in, multiply this by geographic atrophy. What do you get as a result? I guess he's known to all of you. We get politics, right? We get Alain Berset standing there and actually pushing us and beating us with his nice words. So this is what we get. This is what we get. The scandal of a 10% increase in our insurance rates. And this is the problem. The bucket is not endless. It's not endless. We have to find a way to solve this. So again, may I ask you, will the machine diagnose MNVs? Just think about GA. Do you want the machine to diagnose MNVs? Well, I think so. I think so. We need the machines. So this is why I say, just to trigger the discussion at the end of the session, yes, we need machines to diagnose MNV. Machines are not perfect. Think about that. They do not get tired, but they're by far not perfect. And so we need to supervise them. We need to learn how to use these tools. And although the road is wonderful and scenic and it's winding, we have to stay at the steering wheel and hold the steering wheel and enjoy the ride with such a nice pair of gloves on. If you want to learn more, come to Zurich in 2 weeks. The SVRG meeting will take place in Zurich, and we will be translating all talks to English and from English to German. And we will be having a session on artificial intelligence in ophthalmology with distinguished keynote speakers. And at the end of the day, I think this is the goal, that we fly neither too high, neither too low, but enjoy the flight in this wonderful sunset. Thank you guys for inviting me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was really impressive. And thank you for sharing this information. With reference to the legal issue, I think it's one of the most important aspects, because so I was always thinking that the pharmacies should be the best place to place a system for screening diabetic patients, yes, because that's the only place where all diabetics are going. Mm-hmm. They don't go to the diabetologists, they don't go to the GPs, they don't go to ophthalmologists, but they need to go to the pharmacy. So if you have there something which is able to allow you a screening program for diabetic patients, this should be the best for everyone. I was talking about that to one of the most important pharmacists in Italy for a long time, and she was absolutely interested to this hypothesis. And we were working together about that. And how to place the instruments, who will pay for them, and so on. But we were able to solve many of these aspects. But there was a moment when she was saying, okay, Francesco, but maybe it's better if I have an advice for my legal office inside the pharmacist organization. After that, she stopped the interest about this, because the problem for them is that if you give to patients a piece of paper where it's written that you can wait for 2 years before the next screening evaluation, or you need to go to the hospital or whatever, but if you have a false negative, only one, and you can have one, at that point this can be a real problem for them, because they do not sign anything, but the place where this piece of paper is given to patient is inside the pharmacy. So they are really concerned about that, and they do not want to do anything. So this is an example of the legal issues related to artificial intelligence, and I think that this, in some way, this must be solved. Because also for the artificial intelligence organizations, the societies, the enterprise, I mean, they do not want to have responsibilities for medical diagnosis, because in our case you have no disease able to bring the patient to death, but you can have blindness, and they can be really an important problem for this.
I couldn't agree more with you, Professor Bandello, and thank you for raising this point, because this is the problem. We have an extremely fast development in the field of AI, and the legal aspects are not following this pace. So one legal aspect is exactly this: who's taking the responsibility? Whose responsibility is a false negative diagnosis? One. But the other one is the part of legislation. No wonder, well, actually it's a very sad news, but two months ago, the company Digital Diagnostics, who's actually marketing IDX, Michael Abramov, they just announced that they're moving out of Europe. They will cease they will stop their actions begin as of 1st of January next year, because they find Europe too difficult to master legally. And that's a huge loss for us because of this problem. Most of diabetic patients are not going for screenings. Less than half of them are going for their yearly screenings. Although today it's not the main topic, but this is one of my favorite topics. We should need these devices in the shopping malls, in pharmacies, to have a scan. So what? You have a false negative. So what? You have a lot of people saved cardiovascularly. You have vision loss preserved, but still that small niche of possible error prevents us in moving for something a lot better. I see that problem, and this is something we have to talk about. And by the way, this is something we ophthalmologists should take the initiative against politicians, because politicians will force us to do something that we might necessarily not want to do. But I agree with you. Yes, this is a great point.